7 o'clock, meeting started. Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tony, whenever you're ready for roll call, please.
Karen Titus? Here. Raj Parrish?
Here.
Johanna Donahue?
Here.
Tim Parrish?
Here.
Lita Drain?
Here. Number 4, your public comments.
Hi, my name is Brady Quantz. I'm with Zukowski's office. I think all of you know me already. So I'm here to talk about a couple of items that are on the agenda. The paying the Zukowski Rogers Flood McCardo bill, which is number 6, and then the motion to assert any available exemptions for under FOIA. So first for the bill, my understanding that the ZRFM bill was approved previously. So the time to contest it really has passed. It was already vetted, it was already approved by a majority of the board. It was already determined to be a valid debt of the board. So now, under the statute, if it's a valid debt, it's to be paid within 20 days of presentation. And the next steps after that would be forfeiture of the supervisor's bond for failure to pay, and then followed by the clerk instituting a suit against the supervisor. So it's already been approved. It was approved at the meeting. So I'm not sure what the holdup here is with paying the bill. For the FOIA, this whole matter really isn't being talked about in public because it's something that was, I think we all know, forwarded to law enforcement officials. If it's been forwarded to law enforcement officials, we don't want to disclose information, and I would think you as a board would not want to disclose information until it's something that those officials can look into. This is the same thing. I know at the last meeting we were on the agenda for Zukowski's office to handle the FOIA. If you don't want us to handle the FOIA, that's fine. It's the same matter though. It's the same matter that why we were hired originally. It's the same conflict that was discussed at previous meetings with Mr. Puma before, where he had advised the board that that there was a conflict and that they could hire additional counsel. So if you want us to hire, or if you want us to handle the FOIA with the same matter that we're handling now, we can do that. But I would encourage you not to hand over anything that was handed over to law enforcement officials. And then I would also encourage you to assert the attorney-client privilege. I've been practicing a while now, and there's never been a time in my career where there was a reason to waive the attorney-client privilege. So I think that for that, at a minimum, the attorney-client privilege should remain. And then I'm happy to answer questions if you'd like.
Anything else?
No, not for me.
Okay, and number 8, anything? Number 5, road district warrant for approval for payment in the amount of $34,000. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
I have a question about the letter. Am I able to pass it along and show, because they're telling us that this is an unlawful abuse of the township's board power because we did not approve.
Aren't you our attorney?
Probably goes to Scott.
I mean,
This would go to Scott.
This is this is a budgeted expense,
okay,
and as a budgeted expense, the highway commissioner has duties to spend money that were budgeted and appropriated.
so
And this comes under a specific line item that was budgeted from what I've seen and from what was presented to the board. So it's within his discretion to spend that money and to acquire that property under the township code, or under the, highway code.
Why, when we bought the Shines property, did you tell us that he has to come before us to approve the purchase of the land? We were looking over here, we were looking over there, and it was the township board had approved the purchase of the land. Same with,
That's what you're doing here too,
Approving the warrant.
yeah.
And if we,
I got a serious problem with this, because I had said at like the November 16th meeting that Stupid Woods was put in without stormwater permits and without any detention and no approvals or inspections or plans. And I said, I think we got ourselves in a jam, because he's dumping the water off the intersection at Lily Lake Road to the north into the Beverly and Ronald Johnson's parcel without their consent, and it's going to make it unbuildable. And at that point, we may have a lawsuit against us, because we're in a situation that we imposed on somebody else, and this is gonna continue to cost us more money. Either he's gonna have to go out for redesign, or he's gonna have to rip out all that asphalt and all the new catch basins and a bunch of other things for $700-some thousand where he spent, because he wasn't compliant or he wasn't have the foresight to do proper planning. And now here we are, he's gonna save his ass by buying the whole. So we're spending 34 on the original 700-some we already spent, that nobody did any plans, permits, or inspections. So once again, just like when he overbuilt the property up there, we had to buy the Shines property. He even admitted it. He stood there and said, yeah, we messed up. He messed up again. And now I have to bail him out. I have to spend $34,000 that I don't think we should have to spend. If the law says I have to do it, but you know, the laws are all subject to interpretation. You've changed your mind twice, looking at what you wrote here to what you've told us. What he interprets and what she interprets are completely different. Even Eugene had a different interpretation than what you did. It's subjective.
What did I change my interpretation?
We will, once we get farther in. You'll see here in your letter that what you said and what you did are two different things.
My only pause with this, and I understand what Trustee Parrish is saying, my only pause was just seeing a little bit more information about the property. You know, initially when we got that paper, there was one sentence on that piece of paper. I have it somewhere in here. I just wanted to see a little bit more. I understand the law. Obviously, I'm going to abide by the law and let it go through, but I do hear what Trustee Parrish is saying, that after the fact, we're having to spend $34,000 to bail out a mistake that was created by improper engineering, not doing his due diligence. It's sad that we're in this case again, but unfortunately, as
We also paid a very large condom bill to go back and figure out what he did wrong. And this is their answer to save his ass. I mean, if it's the law and everyone agrees that's the law, then we have to go with it. But I believe it's wrong to keep bailing him out with public funds for not doing the due diligence in the front side.
The road commissioner stands by that this is for Lindell, not Steuben.
For what?
This is not for Steuben, this is for Lindell.
The stormwater people said the problem that they're having is the water draining going over there because he
When
didn't.
I asked for more information,
Well, we'll wait for him to walk through the door. Maybe he'll have an insight.
maybe.
Anyway, Karen, do you have anything you want to, maybe?
I mean, if it's the law and we have to approve it, then we have to approve it. I don't agree with it at all as well.
Any other discussion? Karen?
No.
Remember when we fought the budget? And he said, it's a life safety issue. You can't touch his budget. How is this a life safety issue?
No idea.
Anything else?
Please call the vote.
Go ahead, Jenny, you ready?
Johanna Donahue.
Abstain.
Karen Kainis.
Yes.
Tim Parrish.
Yes, because I have to.
Rod Parrish.
Yes, because I have to.
Rita Drain.
Yes, motion carries. Number 6, motion to direct supervisor to pay the CRFM bill approved March board meeting.
Make a motion.
Second,
Sorry.
comments, discussions?
Like Brandy said, it was already approved.
Scott?
Yeah, it's not an appropriate bill. It really isn't. Council just said that why we were hired. there's no indication of why the firm was hired, there's no engagement agreement, there is no scope of services. Work was being done before it was approved. The supervisors refused to pay the bill because it's inappropriate, and it is inappropriate. The Zukowski firm was retained on December 28th. There was no indication, and the statements at the meeting were that whatever they were doing was gonna come back to the entire board. Nothing's ever come back to the entire board here or any information, no information has been provided. It's impossible to pay a bill, and the supervisors within their rights not to pay it. It's wholly inappropriate. And to send a bill to somebody for work before you're retained is unethical and inappropriate.
At the 12/14 meeting, Joanna specifically asked you, which I have the verbiage right here, and I have it on my phone to record it off the meeting from that night. Hopefully I have enough. She asked you if you had a conflict of interest for your interest with the road district already. And you specifically said, if you guys wanna hire somebody else, that's up to you. I'm fine with that. That was the 14th. I see that the billing started on the 15th by a phone call from me.
But when were they hired, Rob? When were they hired?
They were already hired. They were already a vendor of record.
No, they weren't.
Yes, they were. We were already using them from another situation that has to do with the road district.
When?
Here's
When
the-
were they of counsel to the township?
When we had to represent ourselves for the town board for the budget hearing.
That was 2
When
years
was
ago.
that? What budget hearing?
The one that we had to go with against Mr. Kelly on the,
When you got sued?
yeah.
That was in December of 21? 22, right?
I believe so, yes.
So they were still at counsel to the township, that's your position?
No.
December
He
22?
said they
No.
were on record as
A
representatives.
prior vendor?
But anyway, getting back to this, so legally, they were hired by us as the board of the 28th. If they're billing somebody for something where he may have went to talk to them, that's another issue. But going back to where Rob was going, and he'd be better off to say this because he's the one that did the due diligence here, shortly thereafter, if you wanna take over here.
Yeah, I mean, this all started in November 16th meeting. And we tried to do something on the 14th, and it had to be pushed to a special meeting.
In December?
Yeah.
Which, you just said it started in November.
November 16th meeting.
The November 16th meeting, it wasn't on the agenda, right? To hire special counsel,
For the 14th, no.
right?
We tried to do it, and Joanna asked if we need a special meeting, and you said yes.
Because it wasn't on the agenda.
Correct.
So you were able to put it on the agenda on the 28th?
Correct. We had to kick it 2 weeks.
Because it was Christmas and people
Right,
weren't available.
right.
So, okay, so you have a meeting on the 28th. So I'm not seeing how there could be billing before the board approved the firm to be retained. That doesn't make, that, so the 14th, we have billing from December 5th, right?
I don't know, I don't have the bill in front of me.
Sure.
Look at this though. Is this December 14th meeting?
Yeah, that's the same December 14th
Okay,
meeting.
so please read the second part of that.
In new business, I asked, I make a motion to hire outside legal counsel. Joanna said, do you need a special meeting? Puma says, if you bring someone to an agreement or arrangement, then it should be approved by the town board. But if you wanna go out and talk to somebody, you can do that without voting.
Right. You
It was
can
on the
do it
14th.
by yourself,
That was on the 14th.
by yourself. Okay, so.
So I should pay for my own counsel to go ask the question about the matter that I've been discussing since November 16th.
Okay, on December 14th, which was the day before the or probably before the meeting, they billed 1.5 hours. On December 13th, 1.25, December 6th, 0.75, December 5th, 0.25. So we've got, before that December 14th meeting, there are, what is that, 4.75 hours billed?
Okay, I tried to break the bill down last meeting and break it down to what I think we should pay.
So then we've got December 15th, 2.75 hours and 3.5 hours between probably two different attorneys, because this doesn't tell us who the timekeepers are. December 16th, then we've got meetings on December 20th.
Okay, but on the 14th, Scott, in your own words, you said, if you wanna bring somebody else in the arrangement, then it should be approved by the town board. But if you wanna just go talk to someone, you can do that without voting, in your own words, on.
Right, that's not a township expense.
Okay, but you're directing us.
I didn't direct you to do anything.
Okay,
I said you
so
can
you're
do
telling
it.
me, with your words, you're telling me that we don't have to listen to what you say. I'm coming to you as a professional, and you're directing this board. You
No, I
are.
didn't direct you to do anything. I said, if you wanna talk to somebody, you're welcome to talk to somebody. You can talk to somebody. That doesn't mean that's a township expense. How can you build a
I
township?
would agree,
How
but
can you build a township?
you're telling the
No, I
board that
didn't.
we can go talk to somebody without a vote.
I don't think he
No,
was
I-
talking
no, I
about telling
didn't.
the board, I think
I
he was
said
telling
you can-
individuals.
If you
to
wanna
speak
talk to
to
somebody,
people.
go ahead.
Yeah, like
And I
one-on-one.
said, if you wanna
So
hire
if you weren't
somebody,
talking to the board, who are you talking to? Butch Shine?
I was talking to you, Tim.
Okay.
I was talking to the board. If you want to talk to somebody, that's not a legitimate township expense until the township retains an attorney.
And I respect that, and so that's why I'm saying that, you know, maybe we need to go back to Zukowski and say, hey, we're not gonna pay for that, that's fine. I mean, but, if you watch that December 14th meeting, you'll see that when you were talking to me, or Rob, or Karen, or Johanna, that you had said, go out and talk to somebody.
No, I didn't say go out and talk to
Okay.
somebody. I never said. go
Verbatim,
to-
right here, verbatim.
Tim, excuse me. I never said, why don't you go talk to somebody? That's what you're implying. I absolutely didn't do that, and I would never have done that. So,
I encourage you to watch it then, and
That's exactly what it says, but if you wanna go talk to somebody, you can do that without voting. You
Yeah.
were talking to the board.
Yeah,
The
you can
board.
do it if
You
you
weren't
want.
talking to any individual one of us, you said if you wanna go to talk to somebody, which is an inquiry.
That's not it. Well, I wouldn't have thought you would have gotten a bill for talking to somebody from
Me
your
neither.
own
I wouldn't
personal,
either, but-
from your own personal conversations with somebody, because I didn't say this is a township expense. I would never have said that, and to imply that is just flat out wrong and a misinterpretation. You can talk to whoever the heck you want. I can't tell you can't talk to somebody.
I
That's
think we're
silly.
kind of looking at this wrong. I agree with you that, you know what, if we weren't signed on with Zukowski, we shouldn't pay for that. I mean, but in your words, Scott, you had said that. I encourage you to go watch that, and you'll see. I mean, I would take that as, okay, Scott is the attorney for a township. Scott is talking to me, talking to this board, whether we're individuals or a entity as a whole. I would think it would be okay to go talk to them. And that was on the 14th. On the 15th, we're getting a bill.
The bills were before
So,
the
so
14th
between
and
the
15th.
15th to the 28th, how many hours did they run up?
Anyway.
Half of their bill, before they were retained. So they're reviewing documents, having meetings, calling the county without an who did they tell the county they represented? Who did you represent when you called the county?
Nunda Township.
When were you engaged?
We had clients coming in, I don't have the bill in front of me, but
Clients, when were you engaged?
What clients?
When were you engaged? Do you have an engagement agreement that set forth what you were doing? Is there an,
no, and it's not required either.
so, what were you engaged to do? Watch the December 28th meeting. It's to protect this board. That's why they were engaged, and they were gonna report back to the entire board. You said yes, you said yes. Where's the report? Where's the information? You're talking about she's talking about asserting an attorney-client privilege over materials that the town board doesn't have.
Right.
How
Well,
can you assert a
Every
privilege?
single person here has an understanding of what the topic is.
Right, the topic is Mike Lespina's, right?
Yes,
So what are the documents, and where's the work product that substantiates a $10,000 bill? Do you have them?
no,
Do you have them? Do you have them, Karen?
No?
Do you have them? So nobody has the work product. Okay? Nobody has the work product. Nobody has this information. And you're gonna assert attorney-client privilege over it? Interesting. What's the privilege relate to?
An ongoing investigation possibly?
So who authorized the Zukowski firm to do an investigation?
I believe.
I had the
You
discussion.
voted.
The
No, you
board
didn't.
did.
No, you didn't.
You voted that,
To hire the Zukowski firm to
Correct.
report back to the board. Who authorized them to call the county?
I guess I'm gonna consult with with you that, to come back and talk to Scott here right now in an open forum about,
Typically, when an attorney is retained, we don't ask the client every step of the way. That's not how attorneys operate. So we don't call and say, hey, can I call someone? And they say, sure, go ahead, or no, don't call someone. When we get our assignment, we carry through that assignment.
Sure. What was your assignment?
I'm not going to waive any attorney-client privilege.
When the
That
client
is-
calls
Who's
an
the
attorney
client?
for
Who's the client?
information,
Do you know
do
what-
you normally turn it over at the request of the client?
You have a professional responsibility to the entire entity, not 3 people. Under the code of ethics, you have a
I know what
professional.
my ethical obligations are.
Under the code of ethics, you have a professional responsibility to the township, to this governmental body, and there's nothing, there's no information that this town, we just heard from all 5 board members that they don't have any information to
That's not
substantiate.
what they said.
Do you have a report? What, do you have any information? Does
I have
anybody have any
zero.
information from the Zukowski firm?
that FOIA paperwork that you FOIA'd from the beginning, correct?
No, from them. Do you have any?
No, I have nothing from Zukowski.
Right.
And the only information I have is what I FOIA'd from
Yeah.
the village.
From the village.
I didn't do anything with stormwater, because I don't know how. I don't get stormwater.
Well, I'm gonna stand on it, the township supervisors within the rights not to pay the bill, you have nothing to substantiate the bill. There was no engagement agreement, there was no engagement to, do the work that was included on this bill.
Any additional discussion?
Can I get a copy of any information?
I'll have to, I mean, it's up to the board.
What if I FOIA? What if you handed over an executive session?
I don't know if that matters.
Well, it wouldn't be broadcast. It can't be discussed
What if there's?
publicly. It can only be discussed amongst us.
That was brought up
That-
before to have an executive session.
It was requested and it was denied. I requested it on her behalf because she had nothing when she got the bill, and I was told no.
Okay.
Who said no?
David McCardle.
And how does it change if there is an criminal investigation that's going on?
How do we know there's a criminal investigation going on? I know various county officials have been contacted by this bill, but I don't know what that means. And when I asked, I was told to butt out, and that it was interfering.
I think we had talked about the information to be sensitive, and when you were first both asking for it, I know Tim said that, I believe it's sensitive information, and when it's timed to be released, it can be released.
But it's still our information as a board.
It's the township's information.
Right, and there's relationships here in this room that I wouldn't be.
Then full executive session. I said that before when you thought I couldn't do my job.
I didn't say you couldn't do your job.
Well, when it was asked if I was friends, and there you have it, then I said, pull an executive session. I have a right, Karen has a right to this information.
But
We
nobody-
also, both of us said when we did, because we both voted no, no offense, not to hire your firm, and we said, just take what you have and turn it over to the state's attorney and save the attorney bill. We both said, if you think you have something, turn it over.
And I did talk to the state's attorney about it, and he asked that we get all the information together for him to review it. And then he also told me, do not give any of the information up to anybody else.
Then it shouldn't have been through the township, it should have been through you personally.
No, I explained to all you guys what I think is going on here, we need to look into it. And then he said that if you need to hire somebody, he's fine with it. And then we all agreed to hire somebody.
Yeah, we all
And
agreed to hire someone with everyone getting all the information.
To provide a report back to the board, not to go to the state's attorney. That wasn't in the motion to hire them to go to the state's attorney. That wasn't there. Somehow they were directed to go to the state's attorney.
I don't think the motion said to bring back a report.
Yes,
The
it
motion
did.
was to hire Zukowski, Rogers, and Flood, and I got it wrong, and then we corrected it, ZRFA.
And to bring back, and to provide information before.
That wasn't in the motion, that was in the discussion.
Okay.
It was
wasn't
not in the
in the
motion of what it was.
discussion. So
Isn't it
So
kind
you
of
were
a gimme
hiring-
when you hire an
So
attorney?
what did you hire them for?
To look at the collective information that I got from the FOIA and get it together to see if it's something that we needed to put forth towards the state's attorney.
And how did that get communicated to the entire board?
It hasn't, because the attorney told me not to give it up. That's what I told her when she asked for it. I said, if I was to give it to you, it's biased. Here's where I got it. And she said they wouldn't give it up. And I said, and I even told you in the meeting, if you need me to, I will call Todd and tell him to give it to you. I know you were able to obtain it, Mrs. Tynes,
That's
the
not-
information.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the work product. I'm talking about the work product here. So there's no evidence of any work product for $10,000.
Okay, how it's dictated, I don't know.
Well, I've got, you've got thousands of dollars of fees of meetings and work on exhibit organization and conferences and documents and material review.
You know.
2 attorneys working this, 2 attorneys go on meetings.
We have hieroglyphics from Mr. Kelly too that came before us last week, and I asked for more information on it because some of them have to pertain to a criminal investigation that's being done, which should be personal attorney, not township road district attorney bills being paid.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
I'm gonna leave it at that. I said what I wanted to say. You can go home and watch it on YouTube or whatever, but I'm not giving out any information on what is happening or going to be happening or what has happened until there's been a full circle. And we have thought it would have been done by already, and we had already said that to you.
So you do have information? You've
I
been
have the
talking to the state's
information that I
attorney?
presented, which is the same information you have.
But have you been talking to the state's attorney?
Not recently, no.
When was the last time?
Week.
What? I guess I'm just trying to wonder why that's relevant, but it's obviously.
Because then he's
taking-
talking to him as a representative of the Nunda Township Board, and he's not. Not of the whole board,
Well, collectively, we all voted,
that Rob was our designated spokesman.
no. We all voted on that specific issue that's being looked into. And your name has been connected with that too, you know, because your name with that property is Latina's name somehow. I'm just saying.
Years ago, yeah, years
Yeah,
ago.
Okay, so we all voted on it.
And I
So
don't own it.
I know, but I think you would want protection, just because
Why?
we did.
I didn't do
We
anything wrong.
made votes as a board here that kind of compound onto this issue. It's kind of scary for us all. So without
If you
saying too
think
much.
my name is tied to it,
It
and you
is, but
think,
it's, I'm not saying there's any impropriety or anything.
there's
Just
not.
saying- okay,
That's
I
why
know.
you don't have to protect me, there's not.
Okay, but you voted on stuff, Karen, that we did, and it all went,
But it was unrelated.
and we didn't know what we were voting on specifically, sadly. I mean,
Yes, correct, the board did not, but I still find it unrelated. And from what I read, it's unrelated, but I don't need protecting. And if you think that Lita and I can't look at this objectively, and, I mean, that's kind of insulting. I mean, because we were elected to do a job.
Right.
And If Mike did something wrong, then he's gonna pay the price, plain and simple.
Any other discussion, or you wanna just go to vote?
We're voting on to pay the bill, correct?
Yep.
Questions for Scott. With what Brandy has said about the bond and about the clerk and that versus the supervisor, is there any truth to that?
I think it's just gonna be a lawsuit that goes back and forth.
So I think she skipped part of the statute, which is failure by the supervisor to pay accounts audited as provided in this section. If necessary, funds are available. And the part that was skipped was an account is a proper expenditure shall be grounds for forfeiture of his or her bond. So the question is it a proper expenditure, and the supervisor has decided in good faith that it's not. So that would be an issue for the bonding company.
Can the bonding company demand an explanation or more itemized bill?
I don't have any idea. The question of an elected official's bond isn't raised very often these days. So I don't know.
Any other questions?
I guess just going back to that December 14th meeting, Scott, I encourage you to watch it. You know, being, my interpretation says, you know, if you read verbatim what's said, it just says, people can, this is your words, people, and taking it out of context, mind you, people can go out with general information and come back and vote on it. So that said, anything before the 28th, we're gonna have to have a discussion with the law firm on it. But I know in your letter, you know, you kind of imposed improprieties by Rob, and, you know, basically said that, you know, he was doing something that may or may not be illegal by hiring or talking, but in your own words, you kind of directed, okay, let's just say you said it wasn't to the board, it was me individually. It would have been Johanna you were talking to, it looks like. And then Lita commented, do we need to go out and interview attorneys? And you said, well, you don't have to interview people. People can go out with general information and come back and vote on it. So
That certainly wasn't to run up 63.
agreed. And
$6,000.
Going back to my original comment was, I think, obviously that, we're gonna have to talk that one through. The rest of the bill, I think we need to pay. There's nothing inappropriate about it. We, as a board, we tried to do things right under your direction, and watch the 14th, and you direct us that we can hire somebody.
No, it wasn't to hire, you could talk. Talking isn't hiring, Tim, and you know the difference. At the December 28th meeting, Tim, you said all the information's coming back to this board.
I know, and it's just taking, like Robin said earlier, it's
Several
taking
times.
longer than I expected, and I don't wanna keep anybody in the dark, but there's may or may not be an investigation going on here, Scott.
Yeah, I don't know if there is or there isn't,
Okay.
but I know that there's work product that you're being asked to pay for, that the taxpayers are being asked to pay for, that nobody has, apparently.
I thought we legally hired them on the 28th. Therefore, I thought,
I thought I was okay to talk to them on the 15th.
And incur attorney's fees on behalf of the township?
No. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
When was the first time that you talked to him?
December
I
5th.
have to go look
Yeah,
back
probably
at that.
December. It was after our November 16th meeting when I had these major concerns.
So, they weren't hired, they weren't by the town board, and you were, that was okay.
I don't think you
So-
said,
so
think that's okay.
We've got.
I don't.
On the 15th, the day after the meeting, somehow two attorneys at that firm spent 2.75 and 3.5 hours on this matter. The day after the meeting, a Friday. So you went from, what, 8:30, 8 o'clock on the 14th to the next day, and they jumped right on it?
I have to look and see when I obtained the FOIA information, it may have been that prior to the 14th that I got it. So I went and saw them on the 15th, or delivered it to them and said, can you please look into this?
Why don't we just take a vote?
Well, let's do this. I wanna amend the motion to make all payments from the 15th on. And
There's no
anything prior to
product.
that,
And
prior-
who
anything
directed
prior to
them
that,
to do this?
that's great, but I'm gonna make the motion and we'll vote on it. Anything prior to that, that's Sukowski's problem.
Scott, your
Is
thought?
is it a budgeted allowance in the township board to?
Is it a proper bill?
Come on, the road district, we go through that every time. It doesn't matter if it's appropriate bill to the road district, because if it's
I'm not
budgeted
in
and
his
it's
office.
allocated, we have to pay it by law.
Cause that's the only authority we have with the road district. We have different authority, I would think, with, over our own bills. Right, Scott?
Scott?
Yeah, you have the authority whether to pay or not pay.
I didn't hear you, Scott, what'd you say?
You have the authority to pay or not pay the bills.
And how is that determined? By majority vote.
By a majority vote, but the supervisor has as the chief financial officer, has the ability to say that this is not an appropriate bill, and if challenged, then that's something that a court would have to decide.
I'm gonna amend the motion on the floor to pay the bill from the 15th for the duration,
The 15th or the 28th?
15th.
I had a question I was gonna say. Can you say that again?
I said 28th for now. Say paid from the 28th.
Well,
Is that your motion?
let's make our motion and see if it passes. If it passes, if it doesn't, then
I don't know what the motion is yet.
To pay from the 15th,
They're debating.
15th.
What's the motion?
pay by the 15th, or after the
15th, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I would feel more comfortable with the 28th, just because we did retain them, and I thought we did that legally under the direction of council and the board. I thought we were doing things right. I don't know if I necessarily agree with everything here, and
Anything else? Ready to call the vote?
Johanna Donahue,
Yes.
Karen Tynas,
No.
Tim Parrish,
yes, we need council.
Yes, what?
We need council. I don't wanna lose having council for the board, because we don't pay the bill.
Rod Parrish,
Yes.
Lita Drain,
No. Motion carries. Number 7, motion to assert any available exemptions, including attorney-client privilege under the FOIA Act. Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Scott?
My discussion is you, Scott.
I don't know what you're asserting a privilege to, and I don't know what the board does. So if you don't have any documents that you can point to and say that there's a privilege related to them, so I don't know what's going on.
The FOIA's been extended until the 12th at 4:30.
It's tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know. You're the FOIA officer, you would say attorney-client privilege, but you don't have anything, you don't have any documents.
I don't have any documents.
So there's nothing that you could,
I have emails and Karen.
you have your emails to McCardle?
And Karen's response. Was it
Is that correct that I give it to you, or was I supposed to do it directly?
No,
Okay.
She's a FOIA officer.
is this even something to vote on?
I don't think that the board can assert an attorney-client privilege over documents that it doesn't have. It's nonsensical. To have a privilege over a document, you would have to see the document and in good faith assert the privilege. And in court, we have to prepare what's called a privilege log and say why it's privileged and have a general description of the documents. You don't even have a document that you can prepare a privilege log, so I don't know how you can assert a privilege over stuff you don't have. Did you ask the trustees to provide any information to you? Did you get anything?
Just from Karen.
Okay. So, that's what we got. So there's nothing to assert the privilege over. Your communications with McCardle asking for documents aren't asking for legal advice. So,
There's no vote here?
well, you can vote, but there's no documents to assert a privilege over.
Okay. Any other discussion?
You really can't vote. There's nothing here. There's nothing to do on this.
All right,
Motion
motion to adjourn.
I disagree, there's obviously attorney-client stuff that's out there, otherwise we wouldn't be hired. And so if you have,
Where? In the ether?
They're not public records.
obviously not in
The public
either.
records, the clerk for the township should have, and she, the supervisor just said she doesn't have.
She doesn't have them. She doesn't have them. The
So-
township doesn't have the documents. What?
The attorneys have them,
Yeah.
clearly.
Do you know that?
Public body doesn't have
The
it.
public body doesn't have the records.
I understand that, the attorneys do. I don't understand why that's difficult to understand. The attorneys have the records. Some of the clients have seen some of the records. If
The client, who's the client?
The township board.
Right. And so.
So wait, some of the
them
clients have seen
the
it?
records,
Some of the township board,
but not the entire township.
correct.
Your duty runs to the township, not to some of the township board. And to,
I understand what my duties are. I understand my ethical obligations.
there's
Thank
no,
you.
but there's no documents here. The township has nothing. Your firm might have some stuff, but they don't,
Yes.
but the law, that doesn't mean the township has it. So we're gonna assert,
I understand that doesn't mean that the township has it, but we represent the township. So if the township doesn't have something, that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. You can
So
still
if I-
assert
but
the
what is,
attorney-client
so the
privilege.
FOIA request, we have been told by the Zukowski law firm that there are attorney-client privilege documents, but we don't know what they are, but we should assert a privilege? Is that what it is? What kind of, what's a court gonna say to that?
Well,
If somebody,
typically it would go to the PAC first.
no, you can
And
go
then-
directly, you can
I
go
understand, I
directly to
said
court.
typically, I understand the
So
process.
what would a court say?
The court would review the documents in camera, most likely.
There's no privilege, there's no documents.
There
There's,
are.
there are documents that are attorney-client privilege. What are they? The FOIA officer doesn't know. So they don't have them. There's no privilege to assert,
I disagree entirely.
obviously, but there's nothing.
The board recognizes, or a majority of the board, I believe, recognizes that there is something, and they can assert that privilege.
For the township doesn't have the documents. Until the township has the documents, they can't, there's nothing, they all said, we don't have them. We don't have them. I said, which, the work
I
product.
understand, but
the work
they
product.
also know that the attorneys have them. It's not like they don't exist, the attorneys have them.
I'm having a hard time understanding how there can be a privilege to documents that exist in a vacuum, that you say exist. But the answer to FOIA is that the public body has no documents that are responsive, or these are all we have. You're saying that there's other documents, okay? I don't know.
And I don't believe that that Zukowski's office has to share documents with you as a separate law firm.
I think you do have to share them with the township. Don't you? Isn't that who you represent?
What if the majority of the board votes not to?
You can't do that. You can't withhold documents from people. You can't do that. That's clearly inappropriate.
Is this a vote or not vote? I mean,
No,
I
you
don't,
have nothing to say.
I
You
have,
just-
I
you
have
have-
no, I don't see what the issue is if I don't
You
have
don't
any,
have any records.
I don't have any records to, I'm gonna give what I have.
Yeah,
There's nothing,
they're not privileged. The materials that the public body has are not privileged.
no, they're not.
And no one else is giving you documents. So,
I'm just gonna give them what I have.
right, that's the response.
So this is a non-voting issue.
There's nothing to vote on. There's nothing to do. You can't assert the privilege.
Any other discussion or comments?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, can we finish, and so there's no more comments or discussion on number 7? All right, number 8, motion to adjourn.
Rob did it.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.